ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of the Great Master written by Shardanandaji Maharaj. In the last session, we were discussing about the effect of spiritual life, the changes in our thought process, the changes in our attitude will have a change in the features of our body. The physical body too goes on changing. So Shardanandaji Maharaj was explaining about that. Yogis and the rishis of the East, especially of India, says those two kinds of ideas do not stop with merely impressing two kinds of marks on the brain, but they get transformed into subtle powers of impulsion and abide eternally in the sacral plexus called the basic center, Muladhara. So, in the Muladhara, all the things, all the memories, all the works we have done, all that has happened in the 8.4 millions of the different lives we had, and even more than that, so many other millions of lives, everything is recorded and it is there. So, it get transformed into memory, into subtle powers of impulsion, and abide eternally in the sacral plexus called the basic center Muladhara. That is the seat of subconscious mind, situated at the lower end of the vertebra, the coccyx, from where they urge you to do good or bad deeds. So you can now see why something urges us to like something, to dislike something, to do something and not to do something. All that in the form of impressions, in the seed form, in the vasana form. He is sitting there and impelling us to all those things. Why we are like something, we think something, we do something, we do not. Everything is impelled because of this samskaras, the memory which is seated there in the Muladhara, the seat of subconscious mind. So that is what it is, this center that forms the repository of these powers of impulsions accumulated in the past lives. These are what are called impressions or past impressions. In Sanskrit, it's called as samskaras. And it is only by the direct realization of the Divine Lord or the attainment of Nirvikalpa Samadhi that these impressions or the desires in the seed forms or the samskaras can be destroyed, completely destroyed, until you see God. As much you go towards God, that much of these impressions gets erased. Then you realize God, everything is gone. Until then, it will be there. We will be impelled by those impressions, samskaras. So, how can it be changed? How can it be reduced? So, giving it positive samskaras. So, they are a bundle of character. Now, introduce new and good positive bundle of good character impressions, and that will go on erasing it. Then you will be a bundle of new good samskaras. So, that's how we remove the thorn from another thorn, a needle, and then throw away both the thorns. Then, when all that is erased, we get realization of God. So now you can see, I think now, yesterday I was explaining about the 64th verse of the Bhagavad Gita, in which we are talking about Ragadvesha Viyuktaistu Vishayan Indriyaischaran Atmavashair Vidheyatma Prasadam Adhigachati. So Raga and Dvesha in the form of attraction and repulsion, in the form of attachment and aversion. So all these samskaras will be sitting there. So the deep impression of these things, aversion, you like something, it becomes so deeper. You dislike something, it becomes so deeper in the form of impressions. That's why you have so strong likes and disliking. These are the basics of emotion. We behave emotionally in certain way because the likes and dislikes are too strong. That's why Krishna is telling Ragadvesha Vyuktaistu Vishyan Indriyescharan. If you start giving up this Ragadvesha, likes and dislike, attachment and aversion, then after getting that control of these things, control of sense and control of your mind, and then if even if you move about in the midst of the sense objects, there is no problem of you being troubled or put into some sort of sufferings because your mind is under control. Krishna tells that. So you will get prasadam adhigachyati. Even in spite of being in the midst of all those attractions which can cause turbulence in your mind, so even then you will be in a very pleasant state of mind, and that is called as prasada. Yeah, whatever we eat in the temple or after offering to the Lord is also prasad because it will make you remember God, which will bring tranquility of mind. So, tranquility of mind, peaceful state of mind, that is called prasada. So, now these are what are called impressions or past impressions, samskaras. It is only by direct realization of God, the divine Lord, or the attainment of nirvikal samadhi that these impressions can be destroyed completely. Otherwise, at the time of leaving one body for another, taking another birth, giving up this life, we carry, the jiva carries with him this bundle of impressions. The samskaras go with him. Just as the wind carries the smell from its receptacle. So, this intimate relationship spoken of before between the body and the mind continues to exist till the attainment of knowledge of non duality. Even after you realize God with form, even after you have some visions, these things will continue. So, all that impressions will be completely effaced or erased only after you get the non dual knowledge. That is the Ekameva Dvitiyam Brahma, highest Nirvikalpa Samadhi. When you realize that Brahma Gnana, then only all these samskaras will be completely erased or diffused. The body reacts on the mind and the mind on the body and the mind of the individual. There exists a relation between the body and the mind of the whole of mankind. The aggregate of the individual bodies and minds. My mind or my body and mind react to actions of your body and mind and vice versa. My body and mind react to the actions of your body and the mind and vice versa. Thus do the external or gross world and the internal or the subtle world stand eternally related and are continuously acting and reacting on each other. It is therefore noticed that if you feel grief when others are in grief, similarly, a mood of devotion comes to you unnoticed in the company of devotees. This holds good everywhere. This is called Sangha, Sahavasa, company. So, if you have devotional people all together, that will induce you to devotion, bhakti. If you are in the company of people who have this knowledge, gnana, it will induce that attraction towards the knowledge in you. If you are in the company of yogis, then your mind becomes introvert. So, likewise, company of any people, good or bad, will influence your mind too. So, just like there is effect of or relationship between the body and the mind acting subtly like that, the body and mind of other people will subtly act on the body and mind of anybody near around. So my body and mind reacts to the actions of your body and mind and vice versa. Thus, to the external or gross world and the internal or the subtle world stand eternally related and are continually acting and reacting on each other. It is therefore noticed that if you feel grief or happy, others also feel grief or happy. Similarly, a mood of devotion comes to you unnoticed in the company of devotees. This holds good everywhere. So, what is the conclusion? If others are unhappy, you feel unhappy. If others are happy, you will feel happy. If others are in the state of devotional mood, you will be also having that devotion. So, what is the conclusion? If you make others happy, you will really become happy. If you make others unhappy and stricken with grief, if you trouble them, you will also get the same. So, if you try to increase the devotion and help other people to go forward in the spiritual life, it will happen to you in your life too. So, whatever you do for others will impact, will react on each other's body, and it will also make a higher influence on you too. That's why, from time immemorial, people are teaching us to help others. Why has Ramakrishna told that? To see God in everybody, Shivajnani Jiva Seva, to do the service of all the living beings. Because whatever you do, seeing God in others will give you more benefit, the same or even more in you. It will help you to realize the oneness of Atman, for you to go forward very quickly. That is the surest and the quickest way to make you move forward in spiritual life. So now this holds good everywhere. It follows, therefore, that like physical diseases and health, physical diseases and also health, ideas or mental modifications, ideas or thoughts or mental modifications are also infectious. So just like the virus and bacteria are infectious, it spreads to others. Likewise, not only health, disease, ideas, or mental modifications are also infectious. If you have certain idea, if you are in the company of some other people, that will be infectious. Those ideas and mental modifications will influence and infect other people who are in and near you, around you. So the same law holds good everywhere too. So your thought, your idea of spirituality, your idea of devotion, or if you have any negative thoughts, that also will influence others. That is called sangha. It may be satsanga, it may be dussanga. So the company of good people will induce all those good qualities in you and help you. So satsanga is very, very important. There is a saying by one Sarvagna, a great poet just like Thiruvalluvar in Tamil Nadu. There was another great saint in another part of India. His name was Sarvagna. He has written Sajjan, Sajjanara Sahavasa, the company of great people, good people. He is like experiencing or tasting the sweet honey, the very good, tasty honey. But what is the effect of the bad people, the company of bad people? What will it induce? It is just like drinking the gutter water. So the bad people company is like drinking the gutter water. but we add it simply for the joke or for humor. If the company of good people is like the taste, sweet and very good taste of the best honey, the company of bad people is like the sting of the wasp or honeybee. So it is like the sting biting. So we used to make fun, though the real person, the great Saint Sarvagna has told, it is like drinking the gutter water. But we used to make fun telling that it's like the sting of the honeybee. So, thus, too, the external or the gross world and the internal or the subtle world stand eternally related and are continuously acting and reacting on each other. It is therefore noticed that you feel grief when others are in grief. Similarly, a mood of devotion comes to you unnoticed in the company of devotees. This holds good everywhere. It follows, therefore, that like physical disease and health, ideas or mental modifications are also infectious. They travel to persons of requisite receptivity. They travel to persons of requisite receptivity. That is why the scriptures have so much eulogized the company of holy men for infusing love of God into human beings. In Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna mentions this holy company when many people ask him the question, what is the way to God? What is the way to God realization? So many amongst the many other important things, that which Sri Ramakrishna stresses again is satsanga, company of the holy men, company of the good people, all the people, good people, devotees join together and sing his glories, take his name, read something which are of the spiritual values. So that satsanga is very, very important. You can know the scientific reason. Just now, Shardanandaji Maharaj has explained the scientific reason for the good effect of satsanga. So that is why the scriptures have so much eulogized the company of holy men for infusing love of God into human minds. So now you note this point here. It follows therefore that like physical diseases and health, ideas or mental modifications are also infectious. It will spread like epidemic or endemic. They travel to persons of requisite receptivity. This sentence is very important. They will travel to the persons of requisite receptivity. In the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, while explaining about these samskaras and good character, good nature, Swami Vivekananda tells good people of good samskaras and good character have an advantage of becoming more and more and more good. Well, on the contrary, the people of bad character, bad nature, have the tendency to become more and more and more bad. Why? Because just now we saw this idea, even Swami Vivekananda tells that. What is that? They travel, the ideas, the mental modifications, the thoughts which we give out, the thought, whether good or bad, cruel or of the loving service, they travel. All the thoughts, whatever you put out of your mind, they travel. And where, up to what distance will they travel? All those thoughts, good or bad, all the mental modifications, the ideas, they travel to persons of requisite receptivity. Those people who have some sort of a resonance, just like now you know in olden days and also now, there would be the radio, the FM or the other channel, the ordinary channel. Nowadays, everywhere it is FM. You have to tune it to some hertz, different hertz. So there was earlier another this thing that would not be so powerful. So now these FM channels you have to tune to particular hertz. When your station or your receiving and receptivity is at particular hertz, then the FM, different thousands of FM channels will be giving out their program. So wherever the receptivity is open, they come and get entangled to that particular receptive hertz, and you will start hearing the program there. Likewise, somebody starts sending good thoughts, then people who are good by nature, they have that tuned their thing to that higher nature or hertz, will receive those from the saints, from the good people, from the people who are giving out, sending out those good thoughts, and that will increase the good activities in them. On the contrary, the bad people also receive the bad thoughts, ugly thoughts, and so many other things, and that will also come and they will receive it and it will influence. So it will make them more bad, more negative, more jealousy, more anger, more bad thoughts. Because now they have tuned their mind up to that certain level. So all the bad thoughts of the world will come to them, negative thoughts. If you are tuned to good thoughts, so if you are doing good things and good positive thoughts, then all the positive thoughts and good thoughts of the world will come and help you. So the chances of becoming more good and good and good, if you have started with one good thought, the chances are more for you to improve. But if you are having bad thoughts, allowing even in the first place, small bad thoughts or any worldly thoughts, then all the worldly things of the world will come and strike you. It will increase the chances of you become more bad and bad and bad and negative. Because those things will be pouring into you. All the ideas, all the bad thoughts left by the bad people, ugly people, the demons, the ghosts, everything can strike you and come and put you down. So that's why, in the first place, don't get tempted and don't even go to try, don't even go to test what will be that if I go and have some bad thoughts. What, let me see what is going to happen if I have alcohol or the bad things, beef, or something like drugs, and all the bad things, bad thoughts. So, in the first place, you will start, let me see, just for curiosity. After that, I'm going to give up. Now, just in the world, we have to taste everything, isn't it? So, in the world, I have to see everything. I should have experience. So, let me try a little. Very, very dangerous. In the first place, in Bhagavad Gita, also Krishna tells, stop it at that level itself, first place, then you cannot stop it, because ideas and those thoughts and mental modifications which are already there in the world, left by so many thousands and millions people earlier, they are in the form of ideas. They will come, they will be waiting for receptivity, they will come and attack you. So you cannot come out of it. So first of all, don't get into that mode at all. Even don't give a chance to that, like becoming angry, becoming jealous, getting the negative thoughts, aversion, dislikes, all those things. Better you give up and take into positive thoughts, then all the positive thoughts will come to you. If you have these negative thoughts, then all the negative thoughts of the world will come and strike you. So Swami Vivekananda also warns, Krishna also, Lord Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita warns you. A small thought neglected can destroy you. A small fire, spark neglected will burn the house. Even just Hayate Vishayan Pumsaha, just thought of these worldly things, it will go on building up like an avalanche, more and more and more, and it will strike you in such a way that finally the end result is pranashyati. Yaito Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Pujayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodo Vijayate Krodat Bhavati Samohaha Samohat Smriti Brahmaha Smriti Brahmshat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashyati. You are going to get destroyed. So that is the downfall, downward trend. So do not give even an iota, even a small place for these thoughts, bad thoughts. So that will destroy you. But on the contrary, you have also advantage. Take up one good thought, start feeling good thoughts, then that can overcome all the good thoughts of the world will come and help you, push you, and all these bad thoughts will be effaced. So advantage is also more. But if you go to try the bad things, oh, let me go and taste a little alcohol, let me go to the casino and play the dice once, let me see how will be, let me have some experience, then you're gone. Then to come back is very, very difficult, because all those bad thoughts of the world which has been left by from the Satyuga or earlier, this thing, they are in the thought form, they will come and goad you to do bad things, more and more negative things. So very difficult to come out of it. So always get into positive mode, always get into good thoughts, good company, satsanga. Always think and read of good things. Otherwise, very, very difficult. Then they will be wondering what happened, why it happened. I can't come out of it. I'm in trouble. Why is it pestering me? Why is it not allowing me to come become good? Because you have given the chance to all those bad thoughts, and now they don't want to go out of you. So now the only way is remedy is, as Swami Vivekananda tells, the remedy for weakness is not brooding over weakness, but to think of strength. Give strengthful thoughts, giving positive thoughts. So it follows, therefore, that like physical diseases and health, ideas or mental modifications, thoughts are also infectious. They travel to persons of requisite receptivity. That is why the scriptures have so much eulogized the company of holy men, good people, satsanga. So now you know what is the effect of satsanga. Here in South Africa, we have seen that very good habit. In India, very less such things have I seen. But here, every day, every week, Sunday, whatever may be the program, the people will join together. They come to some nearby temple or some place. They will get together. They will do satsanga, whatever in whatever way they know. They will chant mantras. They will sing their bhajans in whatever way they may be not what do you call trained classically, but they don't give up. They learn. They hear the CDs and cassettes recordings from India. They learn the bhajans in whatever they like, they can, and they will start singing. That is what the Lord wants. The Lord wants the devotion. So He doesn't see whether your voice is sweet or the way you sing is good or bad. He sees your heart. So I see it so intensely. The people here in South Africa are doing satsangas with so much of vigor, because it will help them, really help. So you see the impact. That is why Shardananda Maharaj is telling the scriptures have so much eulogized the company of holy men for infusing love of God into human minds. For the same reason, Sri Ramakrishna used to say to the new visitors, now he didn't want that people should come to him and there will be no more number of people coming to him. So to increase the number of disciples or devotees coming to him, making him an important person was not the real idea. The real idea is, for the same reason, Sri Ramakrishna used to say to the new visitors, frequent this place, means him, coming to him, frequent this place. He used to not use the word I. So frequent this place, that means all that ideas, all that good thoughts, all the good feelings, the devotion, the knowledge, the yoga, all those thoughts in the form of ideas will influence them. And that will, because it is not in an ordinary form, it is in the intensest form, the ideas there near Ramakrishna. So that would influence them and go forward in spiritual life very quickly. That is true satsanga. For the same reason, Sri Ramakrishna used to say to the new visitors, frequent this place. In the beginning, one should pay more frequent visits here. Now, going forward, Shardananda Maharaj is telling the spiritual moods arising out of intense love of God similarly cause extraordinary physical changes. I'll read it again. Note it, the spiritual moods arising out of love of God similarly causes extraordinary physical changes. Just like it will impact, it is infectious on the other people. Your thoughts, if it is influencing other people, then what about yourself? The thing you feel, the thing you think, the thing you do will naturally influence more your body, your physical body. So your thoughts will change your physical body too. As your thought, as your thinking pattern, as your mental modification changes, then the influence on the physical body will be changing the physical body too. So the spiritual moods arising out of intense love of God similarly cause extraordinary physical changes. For example, when this kind of love grows in the mind, an aspirant ceases to feel attraction for sense objects like sights, taste, smell, touch, etc. That is, they are all the Vishaya Vastu of that particular Indriya. The sense, each sense organs have their sense objects which can attract them. So, of the eyes is called the sight. The Indriya eye, our eyes, have the sense objects in the form of sight, and the Indriya ears has the sense object in the form of hearing. Then our nose, the Indriya or the sense organ, has the sense object in the form of good smell or bad smell, whatever. The tongue or the mouth has the Indriya has the sense object as the taste. So that is meant by here sight, taste, etc. So if in future if you get this term as sight, taste, etc., that means the sense objects of all the five indriyas has to be taken, because each time they don't want to repeat all the five and their sense objects, so they will tell sense objects like sights, taste, etc. Means you have to take all the other, including all the five sense objects and sense organs. So, for example, when this kind of love grows in the mind of an aspirant, the devotional love to God, the aspirant ceases to feel attraction. So that intensity of these sense organs towards the sense objects will reduce. As the intensity of the love of God increases, to that much extent, this here will reduce. That's why we tell people, when you are going, what is the idea? What is the, many people ask the question, how do I know that I am moving, progressing in spiritual life, moving towards God? Is there any indication like milestone? Yes, see here, as you go, as you move forward in the devotion to God, love towards God, knowledge of God, meditation of God, as you move forward in spiritual life, consequently, in the same manner, proportionately, your attraction of the sense organs towards the sense object reduces. So you can watch yourself, you can analyze your mind, whether my mind is still attracted in the same way like earlier. When I was a youth or in my adolescent period, my mind would get so much attracted towards the sense objects. The strength was too much. So now you can see it is reducing as and when, even in the youth itself, if you go intensely towards God, the attraction of the sense objects will decrease. So if the attraction, the kama, krodha, mada, matsarya, lobha, the lust, the cupid, the anger, the greed, the aversion, the hatred, all these things are decreasing in you, that itself is an indication. You're becoming more and more unselfish. That itself is an indication that you're moving forward in spiritual life. So easy. Why do you wait for some visions and so many other miraculous things to happen? Not necessary. The real miracle is transformation in your character, reduction of all the attraction towards the sense objects, reduction of all the negative qualities like this kama, krodha, arishadvarga, kama, krodha, mada, matsarya, lobha, and all those things, moha. So when people tell that we have some visions, we have gone spiritual in spiritual life, and still we have anger, still we have lust, still we have attraction for the sensory things, still I have the attraction to take alcohol, still I have the attraction to take beef and non-vegetarian or whatever, that attraction. That means your attraction to the sense objects are still strong. Your devotion to God has not increased. So if your devotion to God has increased, if your devotion to the higher things have increased, then the attraction towards the lower things of the sense objects will be reduced. So that itself is the criteria, yardstick for you to measure. So, for example, when the kind of love or devotion to God grows in the mind, an aspirant ceases to feel attraction for sense objects like sight, taste, etc. So, his liking for taking varieties of food, going to different hotels, going to different restaurants, and he wants to fulfill his desire, go the best eatery is there, the best savory is here, the best masala dosa is here, the best another particular item is there. Let us go gobi manchuri and paneer matar, so many other things. That hotel is best, this restaurant is best. We run here and there. So when your intensity towards God goes on increasing, devotion, it reduces the taste for food, it reduces food, even the intake of food will reduce, and it will reduce your sleep too. If you're sleeping too much, if you are eating too much, that also is indication that you are get far away from God. So when your devotion to God has increased, you will lead a very simple life, high thinking and simple living. So then your liking for food, quantity and quality of food, quality will be there. You have to take the good quality food, but quantity will reduce. It reduces food, and sleep develops a taste for certain kinds of food, sattvic food, and distaste for the rajasic and tamasic food. To develop a taste for certain kinds of food and distaste for others, and feels a desire to shun, and feels a desire to shun like poison his relations whose association deflects him from the divine Lord. Note it. It is not that you will run away from the relatives or your kith and kin. No. But those relatives and kith and kin who are deflecting your mind from God or higher things, or dragging you towards the lower things or the sensual things. So, such relatives and friends you will feel or you will shun like poison, because your intensity or devotion to God has increased so much. Those people will look like poisonous snakes who are ready to bite you, drag you to the worldly things. There may be some friends who will drag you to the casinos for gambling. There may be some friends and relatives who will drag you to the alcohol tavern, to the drug addiction, to other things, bad things, negative things. So, such relatives, such friends, such dear friends will be shunned like poison. So, that is what Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling. So, developed a taste for certain kinds of food and distaste for others, and feels a desire to shun like poison his relatives whose association deflects him from the divine Lord. So, if there are good relatives, good friends who are helping him to go forward in spiritual life, he will associate with them. But on the contrary, if they're dragging him to the bad things or negative things like this, he will shun them like poison. So, the master used to say in this connection that is in the initial stages of spiritual life, I could not then bear the very atmosphere of worldly people. Sri Ramakrishna, in the beginning of his spiritual life, he would tell about those days, telling that I could not then bear the very atmosphere of worldly people, and felt when in the company of relatives who are dragging my mind towards worldly things, as if my breath would stop and soul leave the body. Such would be the pain I would feel when the company of those such relatives, kith and kin, was near me, who are dragging my mind and who are thinking negative things, worldly things. So I would feel I could not bear the very atmosphere of worldly people. Sri Ramakrishna used to tell, and felt when in the company of relatives as if my breath would stop and the soul leave the body. And again, Sri Ramakrishna would say, the Mahavayu, the flow of nervous energy due to deep spiritual concentration in the body of a man who calls on God sincerely, cannot but rush towards his head. The Mahavayu, the flow of nervous energy due to spiritual concentration in the body of a man who calls on God sincerely, cannot but rush to his head. So it is therefore clear. So Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling, it is therefore clear that the mental changes or impressions that are produced on account of the love of God have each of them a corresponding bodily manifestation. So when the thoughts become deeper and deeper, your love for God increases, your distaste towards the worldly thing increases. That means your taste towards the worldly things decreases, but distaste increases towards the worldly things. So it influences your physical body and features, and it will change the physical body and your physical features. It is therefore clear that the mental changes or impressions, the desires, the deep rooted samskaras, the thoughts you feel, the ideas that are there in your mind that are produced positively or negatively because of the devotion or against that, produced on account of the love of God, have each of them a correspondingly bodily manifestation. The Vaishnava scriptures, taking into consideration these mental changes, have called these spiritual moods as bhava and divided them into five. Namely, there may be more than these five. Other school of thoughts may have some more different thoughts or ideas, or these, what do you call this, moods. But in Vaishnava scriptures, they have divided them into five. So in them or in between them, there may be some more too. Or in other school of thoughts, it may be other ideas too, or the moods too. But Sri Ramakrishna is telling, in the Vaishnava, the followers of Vishnu scriptures, taking into consideration these mental changes, have called these spiritual moods as bhavas and divided them into five, namely Shanta. What is this Shanta mood? There is no relationship of enmity towards God. Now Kamsa had the relationship, Ravana and all other devotees have intense dvesha or hatred towards God. So that hatred towards God should not be there. Enmity mood should not be there. That is called Shanta, quite. In the bhavas, that is the lowest. All the Rishi Munis of olden days who are following the Gnana Marga, they had that relationship. So it is Shanta. Then what is the next thing is Dasya, servant attitude. I am the servant, the Lord is the master. Hanuman and Sri Ramachandra. Dasya Bhava. Sakhya Bhava, friendship attitude. I am the friend of the Lord. Lord is my chum, friend, pal. So relationship in that manner. Sudhama and Krishna, then Arjuna and Krishna. then the Guha and the king, tribal king of some states of North India, and Lord Ramachandra had this attitude of friendship. So, like that, that is called Sakhya, or the woman can have the attitude of friendship, Sakhi, to Divine Mother. So, that is Sakhya Bhava. Then it is Vatsalya Bhava. Vatsalya is love. Yes. When love is expressed towards God, it is called as devotion. When love is expressed towards the worldly things, that is called attachment. When the same love is shown towards your children, whether your son or daughter, that is the love of the father and mother towards the children. It's called Vatsalya. So when the same Vatsalya Bhava of establishing relationship with God as your child, whether a daughter or a son, you feeling yourself as the father or mother of God. God is your daughter or son. You are the father or mother of God. This relationship is called Vatsalya Bhava. So Vatsalya is love of the father and mother towards their child. It's called Vatsalya. So if you turn that towards God, it becomes Vatsalya Bhava. Then it is a Madhura Bhava, the relationship of the husband towards wife or wife towards husband, or the lover towards his or her lover. That is called Madhura Bhava, the sweet mood. While the scriptures on yoga is dealing with the bodily changes caused by those ideas of spiritual moods, I've described them in terms of the coiled power, Kundalini, and the seven chakras in the spine and the brain. We have acquainted the reader to a certain extent with what is called the coiled power Kundalini. The great seers who have written treatises on yoga have given this name to that great power of impulsions generated by the mental modification undergone by the individual in his past and present lives, and expressing itself through its physical counterpart in the base of the spinal column. The yogis say that it remains almost completely asleep or unmanifest in mortals who are in bondage, who are leading a worldly life. It will awaken very little. So it is almost asleep and unmanifest. That is why it is called coiled up like a sleeping snake. It is in this sleeping state of the coiled power of impulsion that the mental modifications such as memory, imagination, etc., are rendered possible. If by some means or others it gets fully awakened or manifest, it leads a man to the realization of infinite knowledge, and through it to the direct vision of God. If it is asked how memory, imagination, etc., can arise from the sleeping Kundalini, called power, our answer is sleep, although asleep, it gets a sort of momentary awakening through the nervous vibration communicated to the brain through the doors of the sense organs by external objects like sights, tastes, etc. Just as the hand of a sleeping man bitten by a mosquito automatically strikes it or rubs the bitten part of the body. The fact is, almost the whole power lies dormant, leaving an infinitesimal part of it active, which is sufficient to carry on the normal work of the body and brain. But as portions of it are roused through yoga, wonderful visions and experiences follow, ultimately leading to the non dual consciousness. So, when the Kundalini rises, your anger and your lust and your other attraction towards the sensory things, worldly things will reduce. You will becoming more, you will become more calmer, unselfish, loving towards everybody. That is the indication. So, on the contrary, It should not be felt that by the rise of Kundalini there is any harm to your body or anything. It cannot. It should only help you to go forward in spiritual life. If it is harming you, there was one person at the time of Sri Ramakrishna. So he used to tell, he used to get bhava, used to get samadhi, and people seeing his samadhi, they got afraid of spiritual life itself. His body, his face would become contorted, squeezed when he used to go to bhava, and his body would become so much, what do you call, mm, take a very bad shape, the face also. Then the people who used to look at it would feel aversion towards that bhava or samadhi or such spiritual moods, because they saw, they compared with Sri Ramakrishna when he used to have these bhavas, when he used to have these samadhis or jagrata of the Kundalini. His face would be always facing joy, infusing joy. It would be spreading happiness, love everywhere. No idea of hatred, or even the face would not contort. There would be no squeezing thing. It would ooze out joy. People used to tell when in Samadhi, when they used to see the face of Sri Ramakrishna, they used to feel that as if a grown, fully grown pumpkin was breaking out. So, like that, the joy in his face would be breaking and spilling out, overflowing. That would be the feeling when they used to see the face and bodily features of Sri Ramakrishna during Samadhi or the rising of Kundalini. So, if there is some rising of Kundalini and it is distorting your face, it is bringing you the negative things like Kama, Krodha, and other things, then that is not rising of Kundalini, that is some disease or some other things. So, you have to go to the doctor and get treatment. That can't be, because it cannot give you pain. Kundalini, rise of Kundalini cannot give you pain, it cannot make you weak. It will give you joy. It has to bring a spiritual upsurge. Your devotion to God has to increase. How can the rise of Kundalini, how can the bhavas of God? Because God is infinite joy, infinite bliss, infinite knowledge. When you immerse yourself in infinite bliss and infinite joy, how can it bring sorrow to you? Then there is some mistake. If it is bringing you sorrow, it's not bhava, it is not spiritual awakening. There is some chemical imbalance which you have to go to the doctor and get treated. Okay. Now, what is Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling about this Kundalini? The yogis say that the Supreme Self or the Divine Lord, who is indivisible, that is Akhanda. Indivisible means who cannot be divided. Akhanda. Existence. Infinite existence, bliss, astitva. Sat. Then knowledge, infinite consciousness, absolute. Bliss, infinite joy or ananda, absolute. That is called indivisible existence, knowledge, bliss, Parabrahma Swarupa, Atma Swarupa, resides in his own nature of pure consciousness in the space or the ether, existing in the aperture in the crown of head. The crown of head, there in the ether or the space, they tell Akasha, Chidakasha, Ghatakasha. So that ether or the space, the pure consciousness which exists, or the ether existing in the aperture. So what is this aperture? Aitireya Upanishad, it is told about that, the Turiya Avastha or the Sahasrara. So the nature of that is, who is indivisible existence, knowledge, bliss, resides in his own nature of pure consciousness in the space or the ether existing in the aperture in the crown of the head, Sahasrara. The coiled power has a great attraction for it, for the Lord Shiva who is residing there, or Parabrahma, or the Guru. There is the place of Lord Shiva, Sahasrara, or the Guru, consciousness, Satchit Ananda. So the Kundalini has a great attraction towards that. It wants to go and meet, merge in it. So the coiled up power is a great attraction for the Sahasrara or the consciousness or the Lord who is residing in the Sahasrara. Or to put it in another way, the Divine Lord is continuously attracting this Kundalini, coiled up power, Kundalini, which is sleeping down there in the Muladhara. So the coiled up power is a great attraction for this consciousness or indivisible Akhanda Satchit Ananda. Or put it another way, the Divine Lord who is there in the Sahasrara is continuously attracting it. Attraction is you very, very much. But as it is not awake, but since the Kundalini is not awake, the coiled up power does not feel that attraction. The moment it is awakened, when with your spiritual practices and concentration of your mind, that Kundalini gets awakened. You need not do any other exercise for other yoga and other things to awaken it. By devotion, by concentration of mind, by reading the scriptures, by the help of the Guru, by the sadhana, by the japa you do, by the puja, by the havan, by the concentration of your mind, meditation you do, that gradually awakens Kundalini. The moment it is awakened, it will feel the attraction of the Divine Lord and approaches Him. The path leading the coiled power to the Divine Lord also exists in the body of each of us. That is called Sushumna canal or Sushumna Nadi. So in the backbone, you can see it is protected by the lumbar bones. Lumbar one, you will give the name L2, L1, L2, L3. So up to the coccyx, from the backbone here at neck to the down, there are so many things. So in that there are two main nerves. On the left is Ida and right is Pingala. That is the solid wire-like thing is coming down to Ida and Pingal, left and right. One is of the moon and one is of the sun. One cools down, one heats up. So while doing the pranayama from the left side and right side, it is Ida and Pingala. If you do it from one side, the whole body will be cooled. Another side of the pranayama, taking the breath and living through that, it will heat up your body. So all those exercises are there in the yoga. That is a different thing. Let us not deviate from here. So we'll concentrate. So in between these two Ida and Pingala, in that bone, backbone, which is covered by these bones, the center point in between these two wires, Ida and Pingala, there is a hollow canal, like a tube, like a plastic tube or whatever. You cannot think like a plastic, but it is a tube, hollow canal. That is called Sushumna Nadi. So this is the path of the Kundalini in which it will flow towards the Sahasrara. So that is being explained here. The coiled up power is a great attraction for that Satchitananda or God. Put it in another way, the Divine Lord is continuously attracting it. But as it is not awake, the coiled power does not feel that attraction. The moment it is awakened, it will feel the attraction of the Divine Lord and approach Him. The path leading the coiled power to the Divine Lord also exists in the body of each of us. That path is called Sushumna. Starting from the brain, this path comes straight through the spine down to the lowest center, Meru Chakra, called the basic or Muladhara, situated at the lower end of the vertebral column. This path has been spoken of in the scriptures on yoga as Sushumna Vartma. Sushumna Vartma, the spinal canal. Kata Upanishad, it is referred to as Sushumna Vartma, the spinal canal. The Western physiologist has described this as canal centralis. The Western physiologist in the medical science has described this as canal centralis, but has not so far discovered its function or utility. But even until now, the medical science, the Western physiologists have not discovered the function of this hollow canal, the canal centralis. What is the utility? What is the function? but thousands and millions years of back, our rishis, our munis, our sages have found out what is the work, what is the duty, what is the function of this canal centralis or the Sushumna Vartma. So Kathopanishad from the Satya Yuga, from the time of Nachiketa, which is 50, 60,000 years back, it is talking of this Sushumna Vartma, the spinal cord canal, the canal centralis. They know the utility. It is by this path that separated initially from the Supreme Self, the coiled power Kundalini has come from the brain down to the basic center and has been lying there asleep. It is by this path again that this power arrives at last at the brain, crossing one after another the six centers Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Agna, and Sahasrara. So it is by this path that this power Kundalini arrives at last at the brain, crossing one after another the six centers situated one above the other within the spine. Treatises on yoga mention Patanjali Maharshi's Yoga Sutras, six centers and their places one above the other, thus Muladhara at the lowest part of the central canal centralis, Swadhisthana at the root of the organ of generation, Manipura in the navel, Nabhi, Anahata in the heart, Vishuddha in the throat, and Agna between the eyebrows. It is to be understood that is the place where they keep this kumkum or sindhur. The mothers will keep, or even religious leaders, they keep this namam or vibhuti, Agna chakra, the third eye, place of the third eye. To remember that, to activate that, that is the reason why we keep this sindhur or kumkum or whatever the religious things, gandha, whatever. So that is the place, Agna chakra. Between the eyebrows, it is to be understood that these centers are situated in the canal centralis of the spinal column, and that heart, throat, etc. mean the spots opposite to them in that spinal column. So you should not take it physically, but it is the plane of existence of our mind. If you cut open the spinal column and see, you can't see any lotuses or something like that, center. So it is a plane of existence. It's the level of the mind, stages of evolution. So that is about the Sushumna canal and the Kundalini. As the awakened coiled power, that is Kundalini, passes from one center, from the after awakening from Muladhara to another center, Swadhisthana, moves from center to another, the aspirant begins to have novel experiences. So novel, you know what is the meaning of novel? Beautiful. Even the Kundalini awakens, you will have beautiful experiences. It will give you joy. It will give you fulfillment. Your life will become such a beautiful thing that others will be influenced by you. On the contrary, if people are telling that it is bringing in anger, it is bringing in trouble, that is not the real this thing of Kundalini. So people should not get afraid by seeing our life of the religious life and other things. If they feel that, oh, this yoga and other things is going to cause us pain, then they may, in getting in other than getting influenced, they may get deter away, they may run away from us. So we should be very careful while showing to others our physical things or physical or our development in the spiritual life in a wrong way. Should not portray that to the public in a wrong way. Otherwise, it will deter them, it will chase them away. So then, when it passes from one center to another, the aspirant begins to have novel experiences. So, novel, very beautiful, joyful experiences will come. It is not sorrow, it cannot bring sorrow. How can Amrita bring you Mrita, death? So, once Swami Vivekananda as Narendra was asked by Ramakrishna, Suppose there is a cup of elixir. How will you drink it? Cup is filled to the brim. How will you drink that? If you are a fly or if you are a honeybee, how will you drink? So if I'm a honeybee or a fly, I'll go sit on the edges of the cup and then sip it. Why don't you jump into it? Oh, if I jump, I may drown and die. How can you die? It is elixir, Amrita. What is the meaning of Amrita? Amrita means that doesn't give you death, it will make you immortal. So why are you afraid? See the thing, how we think. To jump into it, you will not die if you drink into the Amrita, nectar of immortality. It's the nectar of immortality, ambrosia, which will give you life, permanent life, eternal life. So if you jump into it, will you die? You cannot. You'll become eternal. You'll be living here afterwards. So contrary, don't make contrary statements. How can rising of Kundalini bring about pain and anger and other things? No, it can't. So see, novel experiences, when it awakens and moves from one center to another center, it will give you novel experiences. And as soon as it reaches the brain, he realizes the highest experience, highest joy. And that spiritual awakening can give, in other words, he reaches the consciousness of non duality. That is samadhi. That is the nirvikalpa samadhi, the oneness of the self with the supreme self. It is then that the aspirant has the ultimate experience of his particular devotional mood. It is then that he becomes one with the great idea from which all the ideas are arising every moment in human minds. That idea beyond all ideas. So you are going to experience that. As soon as it rises and start moving up, then you cannot explain how the bliss is. It is not painful. It is blissful. It will give you so much of enjoyment. It will change your life for good. All the other bad things will go away, negative things. It will be only positive. It will give you only joy. As it goes to the next center, you'll have so many experiences of different gods and goddesses. So to the next stage, still higher visions you will have, all which will give you bliss and joy only. It cannot give you pain. No, for certain, it will not give you pain. So I will explain again of what Shardananda Jimaji is telling. So as the awakened coiled power passes from one center to another, the aspirant begins to have novel experiences. And as soon as it reaches the brain, he realizes the highest experience that spiritual awakening can give. In other words, he reaches the consciousness of non duality, Advaita, oneness, Parabrahma, Ekam Evadvitiyam Brahma. So, consciousness of non duality, Satchit, Akhanda Satchit Ananda Swarupa. The oneness of the self with the supreme self, Jivatman, oneness with the Jivatman and the Paramatman. That is the goal of yoga. Union. Yoga means union of the Jivatman with the Paramatman, the individual soul with the supreme soul. Supreme soul is Paramatman. Individual soul is this Atman, Jivatman. It is then that the aspirant has the ultimate experience of his particular devotional mood. It is then that he becomes one with the great idea from which all the ideas are arising every moment in human minds. That idea beyond all ideas. Ah, how very simple were the words with which Sri Ramakrishna explained to us these intricate facts of yoga. You see, said he, Sri Ramakrishna used to explain, let us hear about this yoga and Kundalini and other things from the holy mouth of Sri Ramakrishna. You see, said Sri Ramakrishna, something goes up, creeping from the feet to the head. Something goes up, creeping from the feet to the head. Consciousness continues to exist as long as this power does not reach the head. But as soon as it reaches the head, all consciousness is completely lost. there is no seeing or hearing anymore, much less of speaking. Who can speak then? Whom will I speak to then? Where is the I? Who can speak? The very idea of I and you vanishes. While it goes up, I feel a desire to tell you everything. Ramakrishna is telling, while this Kundalini or this power, called up power, goes up and gives me so many various experiences, I just want to tell all that experience to you. While it goes up, I feel a desire to tell you everything. How many visions I experience, of what nature they are, etc., until it comes to this place showing to the heart, or at the most this place showing the throat. Speaking is possible until then, and I do speak and I tell about that experiences. But the moment it goes up beyond this place, beyond the heart, throat, beyond this place, throat, that is the Vishuddha Chakra. The moment it goes beyond this, showing the throat, speaking is only possible lower to that. After that, you cannot speak. And I do speak until it is below that throat. After that, I can't speak. But the moment it goes up beyond this place, showing the throat, someone forcibly presses the mouth, as it were, and I lose all consciousness. Then I cannot explain what it is, the experience which I am having. It is beyond words. It is beyond words, thoughts. So that then I cannot explain. I want to tell it to all of you. I'm feeling so much to tell it to you, but somebody presses my throat, closes my mouth. I cannot tell. But the moment it goes up beyond this place, showing the throat, someone forcibly presses the mouth, as it were, and I lose all consciousness. I cannot control it. Suppose I try to describe what kind of visions I experience when it goes beyond this place, showing to the throat. As soon as I begin to think of them for the purpose of description, the mind rushes immediately up and speaking becomes impossible. The mind goes, rushes, and merges in the Parabrahman. And what shall I speak? There is no question of I and you. I is not left there. Who will speak? Whom will I speak? I am merged. That I is merged in the Parabrahma, Khanda Satchit Ananda Samadhi. So then I cannot explain anything to you. I'm so desirous to tell all the experiences which are happening. Once it crosses the throat, somebody presses my mouth and throat, I cannot speak. I still forcibly try to think of that whatever experience, immediately my mind rushes to that Akhanda Satchit Ananda Parabrahma God, and I'm lost. Ah, Shardananda Jimaji is telling how many times Sri Ramakrishna made fruitless attempts to control himself with great effort in order to reveal the nature of the visions, experiences, etc., that he had when his mind reached the center above the throat. One day, says one of our friends, the master said very emphatically, today I will tell you everything and will not keep anything secret. He described clearly the centers and the corresponding experiences up to the heart and also to the throat, and then pointing to the spot between the eyebrows, he said, the Supreme Self is directly known, and the individual experiences samadhi. When the mind comes up here, there remains then but a thin, transparent screen separating the Supreme Self and the individual self. The sadhaka then experiences saying this. The moment he started to describe the details of the realization of the Supreme Self, he got merged in Samadhi. When the Samadhi came down to an end, he tried again to describe it. He was again in Samadhi. Finally, after repeated attempts, He said to us with tears, he said to us with tears, Alas, I have indeed a desire to tell you everything without concealing anything whatsoever. But in spite of all my efforts, the mother does not allow me to speak. She presses my mouth. We were surprised and thought, Shardananda Maharaj and other direct disciples and others who were there, they're telling we were surprised and thought, how strange is it? We see he's trying so much to tell us, and we also realize that he is feeling much pained, that he is unable to express himself. That woman, that mother called Kali or Durga, whoever it might be, the divine mother, that woman, that mother is surely very naughty. She is very mischievous, she is very naughty. Ah, why should she press the mouth when Ramakrishna is to speak of holy things, about the realization of God? Why can't she allow? She is very naughty. Why can't she allow Ramakrishna to speak about these things? Why is she pressing the mouth of Sri Ramakrishna not to tell these things? Why press the mouth? That woman, that mother is surely very naughty. Ah, why press the mouth when he is to speak of holy things, things about the realization of God? Then they were young, very young students of 14, 15, 16, adolescent students, teenagers. So Shardananda Jumaj is telling, we used to comment then like that. Did we then understand? Did we then understand that the mind, intellect, and the like, with the help of which speaking becomes possible, have not a very long range? And again, did we then understand that the complete realization of the Supreme Self could not be attained if one did not go beyond this range? Did we then understand that the Master was trying to make the impossible possible on account of his love for us, compassion for all of us? So, these were the words of Shardanandaji Maharaj. First, as teenagers and young boys, the direct disciples, when they heard struggling Sri Ramakrishna to tell about the experiences which he had when the mind started going towards the Agna Chakra, he tells that only a thin membrane is separating between the Lord Parabrahma and this Jiva, only a thin, very thin membrane. So now that Jivatman is going to merge in that, after that, no, nothing. He couldn't tell. He went into deep samadhi. Again, he came down. He tried again, repeatedly, to tell the experiences. Again, the mind merges in samadhi. Then, in tears, Sri Ramakrishna was in tears that he was helpless. He couldn't tell. He wanted to put out all the secrets. Then, with tears, Sri Ramakrishna told, Alas, I have indeed a desire to tell you everything without concealing anything whatsoever. But in spite of all my efforts, the mother does not allow me to speak. She presses my mouth. We were surprised, Shardananda Jumarji is telling, and thought how strange it is. We see Sri Ramakrishna is trying to so much to tell us, and we also realize that he is feeling much pained, that he is unable to express himself. That woman, that mother is surely very naughty. Ah, why press the mouth when he is to speak of holy things, things about the realization of God? So they were then thinking in that pattern because they didn't know. They were in ignorance of all these higher things. But when they realized themselves, when they move forward in spiritual life, when they realized all these truths, then Sharadananda Jimaj is telling, did we then understand that the mind, intellect, and the like, with the help of which speaking becomes possible, have not a very long range? Their capacity is too small. They are very, very, very low compared to that Lord. So their capacity is very low. They have not a very long range. And again, did we then understand that the complete realization of the Supreme Self, the Lord Supreme Parabrahman, God without form, God without attributes, beyond all the attributes, did we then understand that the complete realization of the Supreme Self could not be attained if one did not go beyond this range? Did we then understand that Sri Ramakrishna was trying to make the impossible possible on account of his love for us, on account of his compassion to all the living beings, infinite love which the Avatar Purusha has towards. That's the reason why the Avatar Purusha takes a human body, comes down, descends down to our level. It is because of his infinite compassion. So now again, out of his infinite love and compassion towards all of us, he's trying to make the impossible possible on account of his love for us. The Master used to describe in detail the nature of experiences he had when the coiled up power went up through the canal centralis sushumna nadi. Look here, Sri Ramakrishna used to tell, look here, my dear children, he would say, the something that goes up to the head, the something that goes up to the head, producing a tingling sensation, does not always do it in the same manner. Each time when it goes up, it will not repeat the same experience again. That something that goes up to the head producing a tingling sensation does not always do it in the same manner. It has five kinds of motion as described in the scriptures. It has five kinds of motion as described in the scriptures. What are the five kinds of motion it has? The first one is the motion like that of ants. The Kundalini rises and goes up like that of the ant. There begins a creeping sensation at the feet, as if ants carrying food in their mouths were creeping along in a line. It then goes slowly up till it reaches the head when there is samadhi. This is one type of movement of Kundalini. Then another type of movement of Kundalini is the motion like that of frogs. Manduka. In Hindi, it's called mendak. In other languages, it's called kappe. So the motion like that of frogs, just as frogs hop twice or thrice and then rest, and again do so twice or thrice and then rest, and thus proceeds, a sensation is felt as moving in a similar way from the feet in the direction of the head. And as soon as it reaches the head, there is samadhi. The motion now, another type of motion of the Kundalini is like that of a snake. The motion like that of snakes. A snake lies motionless in coils or at full length. But the moment it sees it's a prey or is frightened, it wriggles zigzag. It wriggles zigzag to the prey or to its place of hiding. A sensation like that is felt going upwards direct to the head. When it reaches there, one goes into samadhi. The fourth type of motion of the Kundalini is explained by Sri Ramakrishna as a bird at the time of perching comes flying sometimes a little high, sometimes a little low, and stops nowhere until it reaches its destination. A sensation with similar movements is felt proceeding to the head, culminating in samadhi. So these are the five different ways Sri Ramakrishna has explained how Kundalini after awakening, while it is going towards the Paramatma, the Sahasrara, the thousand petal lotus, it doesn't go in the same manner all the time. So five different ways have been explained now. Four has been explained. Four, sorry. Now, the fifth one, the last way, is explained by Sri Ramakrishna. And what is that? And the motion, the fifth one, is the motion like that of monkeys. Just as a monkey, when it goes from one tree to another, jumps from branch to branch suddenly and reaches the destination in two or three leaps. So a sensation is felt to reach the head in two or three movements, and samadhi follows. So now we've seen Sri Ramakrishna explaining the five different ways, and also what are the experiences, different experiences he used to tell up to the Vishuddha Chakra. After that, even though he tried repeatedly, he couldn't do that. So we have come to study about what happens after the Kundalini rises, and what is the joy you get, bliss you get out of it, what is the experiences you get out of it, what is the end product. Everything has been explained so wonderfully. It is there in the scriptures, in the yogas, but even more than that, in a more simpler way, Sri Ramakrishna has explained. So we shall meditate on that, think on that, cogitate, Shravana, Manana. We have done the Shravana, we have heard from Sri Ramakrishna and Shardanandaji Maharaj, but all these things now, we will meditate, we will reflect on these things, which will make a more deeper impression in us. So all this hearing of the lectures, all this reading of the book, so it goes to destroy, neutralize all the negative samskaras. All the negativities in our mind will be destroyed, and all those samskaras will be removed gradually, and it will lead us to God realization. That's why we have to do this reading of the great master life. See, everything is being so nicely explained. The truth of the scriptures is verified here. So the hearing of the Bhagavad Gita, reading of that, Upanishads, Bhagavata, Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these things will remove. They are the positive thoughts. The remedy for weakness is not to brood over weakness, but to think of strength. These are the strong or strengthful thoughts which will remove all the negative thoughts and help us move forward in spiritual life. So we have to do it more and more, daily, all the time. A supter, amruter, nayet Vedanta Chintanam. Asupter means until I go to sleep. Amruter means until I give up this body. Until I reach the end called death, that is the death of life, the end of my life. Amruter, asupter, every day I go to sleep. Until I sleep, nayet Vedanta Chintanam. You have to be constantly thinking on God, thoughts of God, knowledge of God. That is the highest ideal. Go on doing that. That is the positive way of removing strong thoughts given in that way, positive things, all the negativities. So it will automatically go away. There is no need of forcibly removing or running away from them. Walk towards God. Think of these things all the time, and automatically the other things are left behind. If you don't like South Pole, don't go on pushing the South Pole with your legs, trying it, pushing it, you become more nearer and nearer. Instead, get up and start walking towards the north, then the South Pole is left behind. So walk towards God, think of God, meditate on God, only God, hear about God. That is the surest way of meditating on God. They are the positive thoughts, it will remove all the negative tendencies. So we will end our conversation for today, and we will give the time for question and answer. If you have any question and answer, you can ask.
Pranam Maharaj, Madhu here.
Yes, Madhu, please tell.
Two questions, Maharaj. One is as the gross is interconnected. You said
Yeah.
as the gross bodies are interconnected. Is the sanskaras are also interconnected, Maharaj?
No, what is samskara? Repeated your thoughts will make an impact on your mind. the repeated thoughts are forming your action. Your repeated action will make it a habit. Your repeated habit makes samskara, the character. So, where did it originate from? It originated from your thought. Then the thought got converted repeatedly. When you do that thought, it gets converted into action. So, when it is come to the level of action, repeated action will make the character. The bundle of character is samskara. So, when the mind is constantly thinking, it is made into action through the body, isn't it? We act, we get it, or we try to enjoy it through the instrument called body. So the body will be affected and the samskaras are also affected. It goes on increasing if you are doing negative things, wrong things, negative things, bad things, the bad samskaras will go on increasing. So if you're thinking of good thoughts, then the positive samskaras will go on increasing. So that is the surest way of beating this negative samskara, negative character. That's all.
Okay, Maharaj, thank you. And the
Yeah.
second question was, as Sri Ramakrishna Thakurji saying, he could not bear the worldly thoughts when he was doing the sadhana.
In the beginning of the sadhana,
Yeah, and
when he was a spiritual aspirant,
yes,
he could not bear the worldly minded and the negative thoughts given by the relatives. If they were good people giving them good thoughts, he would be with them. But the people who will tell, oh, go and enjoy this life, enjoy that, don't think of spirituality, God, and other things. Now it's a time for your enjoyment. Why do you go to ashrama? Why do you go to temple? You can enjoy. Go to the alcohol, take drugs, take all these things, enjoy your life. So, such relatives, those who are giving the worldly things, thoughts to them instead of God, taking away your mind, them he used to shun as poison.
yeah. The question is, how did the Holy Mother then bear her sister-in-law, who was also so abusive? Radhu's mother, she was so
Yeah,
abusive. How did Holy
definitely.
Mother bear her?
Mind was already, she had realized she was not in the initial stages. Now, Ramakrishna had given her all that realization. She too had done so much because every day, in spite of all the things she used to do every day, even after realization, she used to do more than 1 lakh japa for her disciple, for all the devotees who used to come, for all of us. She was doing japa for the welfare. So now she had already realized God. She was one with that. So there was no fear, even though if she was really living in the midst of all these worldly attraction, after realization, it will not affect you. So that's what in Bhagavad Gita, yesterday in the 64th verse, I discussed from the Bhagavad Gita, the second chapter, 64th verse. Ragadvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaicharan. So all the indriyas will be moving about, even if they are moving about the attractive things, sensual things which can drag you down. Ragadvesha viyuktaistu. If you have overcome that, what you call hatred and attraction, that is attachment, raga and dvesha. If you have overcome that, that is, if you have controlled your mind, then even if you are moving or if you are placed in the center of all the attractive things, your mind will be in a state of prasadam adhigacchati, atmavashair vidheyatma, the self-controlled, the sense-controlled person will have prasadam adhigacchati, the joy, the bliss, the tranquility of the mind. So they had already got the tranquility of the mind, even in spite of all the attractions staying after the realization, it will not disturb. Ramakrishna has told that for the initial beginning people of spiritual life.
Okay, Maharaj.
We are at the initial stages. So when we are moving forward, once you've gone forward, stabilized your life, then there will be no danger.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, Mata. Any other questions? Please?
Om
Yeah.
Namo Narayanaya Maharaj.
Narayanaya Chandru Chand, please tell.
The samskaras was told to be in the Mooladhara chakra. Now I was actually told that it is normally at the subtle body at the mind level. So how does the impulses from the Mooladhara travel to the subtle body at the mind level for action in the world?
See, as I told you, it is in the beginning itself I told, if you cut open all that Sushumna Nadi and other things, you cannot find those lotuses or that center. It is only plane of existence, plane of consciousness, the level of your mind. So now the same thing here, the physical body is the gross body. The subtle body is nothing but your mind, ego, and other things. Then your causal body is of the samskaras and the desires. The desire that causes everything. Your desires, your samskaras is the cause of this life. So going inwards in the form of your body, the division is at different level. Then other than this division, there is another division, still subtler division of the body based on the sheets. It is kosha, that is the Annamaya kosha. Then it is Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha. So there are 5 different levels of division. So this, what you are telling, you should not connect between the physical thing of Muladhara and the subtle body, because subtle body is our mind, our ego, and other things. Our causal body is still deeper, that is the desires and samskaras and vasanas are our causal body, which causes this body. So this seat or Muladhara is the memory and all the other things of your past life. We had more than 8.4 millions of life just before getting this first human life. After getting the first human life, we might have gone through many more lives, maybe another millions or billions. So all that has been recorded and it is kept just like a supercomputer, hard disk of a supercomputer. So the brain may be the supercomputer and computing. It will have a hard disk where all the memories are stored. So Muladhara is the place all the knowledge of all the lives you had will be stored there. So that is the place for our subconscious mind, where all your things will be stored, the desires and everything, whatever you had experienced. So that is only the plane of existence. That's all. So everything, memory will be stored just like the hard disk. Just like a computer, you have a hard disk, you have the other things there, the binary things which are happening there, calculations and so many other things. So it's similar to that. So you should not get confused with subtle body and this thing, because subtle body is nothing but your mind, ego, and other things is subtle body. And still deeper is your causal body, and that is your samskaras, which has formed into deeper this thing, what do you call, the denser thing called samskara, the desires, the actions which we have done, is thickened to form vasanas and samskaras in the seed form. That's all.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Yes. Chandrukchan. Any other questions? Any other doubts? Okay. If you don't have any questions, then we can end today's class by the prayer, closing prayer. Om Priyatam Pundarikakshaha Sarvayagneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Prenite Prenitam Jagat Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.